When I was recently in Jordan, almost everyone I met recommended I visit Jerash, an old Roman city 20 miles north of Amman. It's a 20-mile drive through arid suburbs, market gardens, and olive and pomegranate groves. You enter the city through Hadrian's Arch, magnificently reconstructed and striking not only for its size and colour, but for its Latin inscriptions as well. Immediately inside the gate is the Hippodrome, which lies outside of the city wall proper, but its size and state of repair hint at what's to come. Cracks in the sand suggest the Hippodrome is still in use. The ruins of the Temple of Artemis dominate the city, overlooking the Forum and the main street, which runs from the south to the north gate. We enter the south gate and find ourselves in the Forum, circled by these columns under which the markets were set up each day. It's very easy to imagine the din of a market right here, under these stones. Walk then up the main street. It's here that you start to get a sense of a place that was home, and this is not just a ruin. The visible wagon and cart ruts in these cobblestones reinforce the feeling that you're in someone's living room, and that the folk who live here are not so very far away. These two lads run to their booths, getting ready to sell me genuine replica Roman coins. These columns came tumbling down in an earthquake in 746 AD, after which the city never really recovered. Trade, which had fueled its growth, went elsewhere via other routes that bypassed the city. There are two outstanding theatres in Jerash which I enjoyed. Citizens took their seating by entering from the rear. Without handrails, you can see where posts once were set in stone. It's a slightly precarious ascent. These theatres are apparently still used for theatre and arts production. You get a good sense from down here of the steepness of the seating and the compactness of the design. One of the things I really enjoyed about walking around here was the sense that you're walking where people walked and thronged and gathered for entertainment 1500 years or so ago. Today there was really only me walking around back here, but I was followed by a guard for some reason. Oh, and there were a couple of other tourists that turned up as well. One of the really nice things about Jerash is the dearth of other tourists. But Jerash really comes alive in the streets and the markets that you can still walk through. This area that I'm crossing here now was apparently a market which opened into this street. It set up with awnings and coverings for those running their street stalls. This street here really caught my imagination as well. It runs at right angles down to the main street. But it was really in this street, which points down into the modern Jerash, which you can see in the distance, which really gave a sense of moving among people that really only departed a short time ago. As we walk down here, you can see the buildings on the left and the right, the apartments, the ruins of little alleyways. I turn left here through the columns into one of those apartment complexes, past the well, the communal well, in through an entrance here which opens up into a courtyard. There's a house on the left, there's a house or the ruins of an apartment directly in front of me with a big tree-grown alley. We move around this courtyard, look into someone else's house, follow the courtyard up, another apartment on our left, apartments in front of us, the catch running, and we walk into the ruins of an apartment here in the corner. All of these apartments had 2 or 3 stories. In this case, 2 rooms, we walk back out into that courtyard that we entered in the first place off the street, you have a real sense of this being a community area with half a dozen apartments that open into it. You can just imagine how busy and noisy it was. We look down now into the ruins of an apartment that had a cellar that had quite an extensive underground network. You can see some of it there from a slightly different angle, now collapsed in. Back out to that communal well that we looked at when we first came in. These communal wells are dotted down the street, each well supporting each apartment complex. I finished up my walk around Jerash by visiting the second theatre that sat on the south side of the city. For the last half hour or so I'd heard the sound of bagpipes and wondered what that was. It was indeed bagpipes, and I guess that's part of the legacy of the British having been here once. These guys would play a little bit and then demand the tourists pay before the tourists fled. They really were awful, and I think the novelty factor for tourists wore off pretty quickly. And that pretty much wraps up my tour of Jerash, with a curious mix of ancient, colonial, military and the tourist here being forced out through the chute, made to pay their dollar before